got to slow down, play that music too loud, everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just telling you, I'm excited today. We got a dynamite show for y'all today. And as the doctor would say, you know, there's never enough time, so we're going to jump right in. Today, we do have a special guest. Today on In This Class, we got a special guest, and I'm telling you, I think he's going to drop the mic. I think he's going to drop the mic. So I don't know what you need to do, but get yourself ready. So without any further ado, without going any further, we got a gentleman coming on the show today. He is a businessman. He's some consider him a business guru. But what I like about him, he's going to tell his story, is that, you know, he has beaten the odds. We're going to talk about today, beating the odds. You know, I was talking to him, he said, Erik, you know, when you look at what I achieved and when you look at who I am, they are not supposed to match up. Ooh, let me say that one again. When you see me physically with your eyes of who I am, and when you see what I have achieved, they're technically not supposed to match up. How many of y'all can relate to that? That what you are going to achieve and what somebody may see may not match up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the thing I know. When you know what you know, it's not about somebody else's perception. It's about what you're going to make your reality. So please help me welcome Executive Director, now coming from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, none other than Mr. Delroy Peart.
Punching that clock every day. Wow. Skating on thin ice. Give me the bum 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 beat. Give me the good life. Give it to me.
Oh yeah.
Give me the bum 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 bum.
Oh yeah. Wow, what a way to wake up. This is a way to start your day. Thank you for that introduction, Erik.
Thank you, Mr. Peart. I mean, Mr. Peart, you know, I want to thank you for taking our opportunity to come on the show. You know, I really, 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 really appreciate that. You know, gave your call and you said, hey, Erik, whatever it takes. You know, whatever it takes. And I know we want to get into your story. But for those who don't know, who just on the outside surface, we're going to peel back some onions. But on the outside surface, who would somebody say is Mr. Delroy Peart?
Well, you know, here's a young Jamaican kid who grew up in a challenging environment, made his way into Canada, and started a life, a different kind of life. And, you know, I've had success in the corporate world, and decided there were too many limitations there. So I decided to move on into the entrepreneurial world where I could actually express myself, express life the way I wanted to express life and not be subject to all the corporate limitations. So I'm excited. Here is a person that's really excited about life and what life has to offer.
Wow. So, Mr. Delroy, this is James Burrell. What was your journey like from you said you were in corporate office. You did a lot of corporate work. So what was your transition like when you decided you wanted to chase your entrepreneurial dreams?
Well, I tell you what, I had a really good, successful career in the oil industry. And it's through learning how the system works and then applying myself to the system. Let me just go back a little bit to give you an idea where I'm coming from. You know, growing up in Jamaica, I was a very shy person and never had a lot of value that I could express outside. But inside, I know there was so much more than I was able to express. And getting into Canada, it was challenging because, you know, you come here and nobody recognized the skills you brought and the education you have. All that wasn't recognized. But I figured out how to make the system work for me. And you know, I went inside, and one of the things that helped me was I love to learn how things work. I also love words. And the next thing, I love to solve problems. Those things served me well because I was such an introvert. I went inside and I developed those areas. And that served me well in the oil industry. And I got to a fairly high level of management. But then I had money, no time. I got a lot of recognition, but I realized that I was being controlled by the corporate system. And I desired freedom more than anything else, James. Freedom is what I needed. And I just thought maybe this world of the entrepreneur is the place I could express myself fully. And though it was a little bit challenging and fearful at first, then I decided, let me get in. Let me get in and see what happens. So that's how I got into the entrepreneurial world from the corporate world. So I had success there, but just needed more, needed this freedom that I was missing in the corporate world.
Mr. Delroy, I heard you say something. I'm going to go back a little bit in your time history.
Right.
You mentioned I grew up in Jamaica, and I did not have the opportunity to really fully express what was inside me.
Right.
How did you – so what I'm hearing that sometimes, is not your environment. You can change. You can make that change. A lot of people say, well, Erik, I didn't grow up with this. I didn't grow up with people celebrating. I didn't grow up this way. I didn't grow up with, both mom and dad, both parents, but I didn't grow up in that environment. So what I'm hearing you tell me that it's not always, not saying your environment doesn't play a part, but it's not always your environment. It's when you make a decision to change. How did you, or what was it inside you that said, hey, let me go take a chance and bet on myself and be able to learn and express? And I love how you said you studied systems, words. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, hope y'all picked up on that. You started solving problems. What was it inside you that made you say, let me go and try that?
Well, here's a belief I have. And I think, your audience can consider this for themselves. All of us know on the inside that we are a lot more than people on the outside say we are. You see, we all come here and we're defined by the people on the outside of us. But we know, and I knew, there was a lot more on the inside dying to express itself. Actually, I'm thinking of putting all this in a book, and I want to title it How I Changed My Life, because I think I have something I can share, especially with my children. There's that voice. It's like a voice in the wilderness inside of all of us, crying out to be expressed, knowing that there is more. There is a lot more on the inside than we are expressing or that other people can see, because we are so controlled by the outside environment. But the inner environment, this is where we have to retreat to. And the fact is, I don't know if it was deliberate or not, but I had to retreat to that because the outside world was not producing or giving me the life I wanted. So I went on the inside. It was on the inside that I realized, man, inside here is a divine being just waiting to express itself. And I had to find a way for that to happen. So even though in the oil industry I got real good success, there was something inside of me crying out for expression. By the way, if we just take time to listen, I can tell you right now, all your audience know that within you there is so much more that's there. And you're just trying to find that way to express it. And this is what I did. So I retreated, and I would question everything. Words. When I hear people say things, I would question it. And by the way, I encourage people to question. When I read, Erik, I read not to gather other men's thoughts. When I read to clarify and develop my own thoughts. Because inside of me is somebody that nobody else understands. They don't see that. And I would challenge your audience, just look inside. See what's there. And I bet you there's a lot more there than you are expressing on the outside. So people don't really know you. Go on the inside, and you will see that voice is there. And if you give it room, it will come out. I hope that makes a little bit of sense to the audience.
Amazing. That was fantastic.
Wow. You mentioned that you read a man's words, but you internalize them for yourself.
Yeah.
Man, that is big. But I've noticed this, Mr. Delroy. Every successful leader that I've known, they always reference reading. It's just one of those common things. So how important was that for your development, especially when you was transitioning from the employee world to your entrepreneurial world? How important was that reading for you?
Well, reading is so important. You can learn so much from other people's words, but it is how you read that's really key, because a lot of people read and nothing happens. If all you read and then read and repeat, and it doesn't affect you, it doesn't have an effect on you where you now learn what is really on the inside. For example, let me give you an example. When I read stuff, and I read things like, by the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread. My grandmother used to say that a lot to us, and I had so much respect for her when she was here. By the sweat of your brow you should eat bread. And I thought, okay, where did that come from? So I read that, and I said, where did it come from? I go back and say, well, that comes from the Bible. But that was a curse. So I'm thinking, okay, so why would I want to live under a curse? So let me look at other thoughts about how bread can come. And then you read stuff like Napoleon Hill's book that said, Think and Grow Rich. And I'm thinking, okay, so on one hand, I can work for bread, or I can think to get rich. So I said, which one do I want to do? Is it true when I read that? So, and I go inside and say, what are my thoughts about this? And when I look around, the evidence tells me that not everybody that works hard reap the reward. So it may be true. What makes it true? And then another thing, my grandmother used to say, belief kills and belief cures. So it is what I make of what I read that's important, not the fact that I read it. Because if you read stuff and you don't use it to formulate your own thoughts or clarify your own thoughts, then all you're doing is just you're parroting other people's words, and it doesn't make any change in your life. So yeah, you got to be a reader, but it's how you read that's important. Unless you're a reader, you're not opening your mind to other thoughts. When I read, I open my mind to other thoughts, but I do not control my mind by other thoughts. I use it to clarify my own thoughts, to develop further my own thoughts, and then I live by my own thoughts. So reading is supremely important, but how you read is also very, very important.
You are dropping the mic. You are dropping the mic. Mr. Peart, I want to go back to something, because I think this is going to help a lot of people here. Sometimes, you said people don't know what's inside you. And sometimes it can be the people around you, right? It can be the people around you who don't fully understand. I sometimes, there's a song that makes me remind me, Will Smith had, his first song called Parents Just Don't Understand. Sometimes your parents may want the best for you, but they may not know what's inside you. Your spouse, your loved ones, your good friends may not know what's inside you, and maybe they could be some of the people holding some of the things back inside of you. My question to you is, because we got some people on this line, how do you fight that? I call it the regulators. Like you said, control this. I got the song "Time for the Regulators," and they regulators, right? And they kind of sometimes when you do something, they want to regulate and control a little bit without even realizing. How did you find the courage to fight through? For those on this call, because I think some people need the courage to fight through, to listen to the inner self.
So let me give you an example of what happened. I was doing very, very well in the oil industry, making a lot of money, and a lot of family, they needed me to make a lot of money because when they need money, they know where to go. So here I am I'm gonna move out into this world that the income is uncertain as far as they're concerned. And they wanted to keep me where I was because it benefited them. They knew they could get from me if I stayed there. But if I move, then all that was uncertain. So what do? So again, I go inside. But then I have 2 children. And I found that they supported me. Look, the Bible says it this way, in a succinct way. A man's enemy is those of his own household. You see, your friends, your family, those who think they know you well, they only see you in one way. And they see you as they picture you to be. They will be the biggest hindrances, not because they mean you harm, but it's only because they want you to stay where you are because that's where their comfort zone for you is. But you got to find that one person, or maybe 2, and it's not a lot. And those are the ones you want to confide in, express your desires to, because they will support you. Those who do not support you, you just don't share your dreams with them. Listen to me, I tell the people in my business, I said, look, not every dream you have you need to share with the world because they don't support that dream. You need to share your dreams rather with those who can support the dream. So find that one person. For me, it was my son and my daughter. When I expressed to them what I desired, they say, Dad, we know you always make good decisions. Do what you choose. And the other people, I kind of tune them out, unfortunately. I just had to tune them out. And I say, sometimes you just have to, and it could be somebody right in your own household. Got to tune them out. Got to follow that which is inside. Because that's where your success lays. That's where life is crying out to be expressed. And if you suppress that, you will have an unhappy life. So I say, look, expect that. Not everybody's going to support you. And a lot of the people who you know, you're not going to get much support there. You have to work through that. Go inside, find out 1 or 2 people who will support you. That's where you share your dreams. That's who you go to. And then go back to your own silence. Just go to silence. Sometimes you just got to get away from the noise and be silent. That worked for me. I hope it helps.
Man, oh man. Woo. That was amazing. Mr. Delroy, I got one more question. I'm so intrigued on how you were able to follow what was inside of you. And a lot of people, when they transition, they just think it's about the money. But for you, it was from what I'm hearing from your story, it was about the freedom and your ability to express what was inside of you. So when if someone else is coming up and they want your advice, if they're in the same situation and they want to transition and follow their dreams and fight for their freedom, what would you say would be the number one thing that they should focus on?
I tell you, know yourself. This is so easy that no hesitation for me to tell you what this is. Get to know yourself. Get to know yourself. Not what the education say you are. Not who the world say you are. Get to know who you are on the inside.
Yep.
Get to know yourself. Once you know yourself, all you need is inside of you. We have been blessed with the gift to become the life that we can imagine. But if you allow others to limit you, you'll never reach that potential. You'll never live that life. The most important question you have to answer is, who am I? Once you discover that, it comes with the energy to cause you to become that image you have of yourself. We have to get rid of the image that other people have given us of who we are. We got to go to the image of ourselves. By the way, as a black man, I had to go past what my enslavers told me I was, and I get into my history to figure out where am I coming from. And I got really way back. And once I discovered who I am, I have no limitation. I can be who I want to be. Know yourself. Once you know yourself, it comes with the energy. It comes with a blueprint for you to live and express that. I have no doubt who I am, a divine being. And I can live from that divinity. And I have to get rid of all the other stuff that people told me I was. But once you know yourself, the beautiful thing here is it comes with the energy for you to change. I don't need external motivation. Sometimes we do need that person who can remind us of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that is coming from the inside, nothing can stop it. I always ask myself, who's going to motivate the motivator?
Mm.
And that is knowing yourself. To me, that's it. By the way, one quick story. My son, I would talk to him, but he didn't always listen. So I wrote, when he was going off to college, I wrote him a letter. And I went to his room where I had a condo there. And I went to his room and he pinned up the letter in his room. So I figured, okay, that's the way I should talk to him. 2 words on paper. Because I don't know what it is, but I started to share stuff with him. And one thing I want him to do was to know who he is. Don't think of yourself as my son. You got to see yourself as a spiritual being that you are on the inside. That way, you don't grow up in the limitation of the shadow of your father. You can express yourself as a full human being that you were designed to be. Yes, you are my son, but you are way more than that. Yes, you're a father, but you're way more than that. You got to go inside and find out who you are. And let that be the guide that makes you a better father, a better husband, a better businessman, a better entrepreneur, a better person when you go on the inside. So this is it. Simple. Know yourself.
Ooh.
Wow.
Wow. I'm hearing you say some things, and some of the things sound they sound almost scary.
Okay.
Because it's like I hear what you're saying, right? Know yourself that you can do it, but find a circle of people. But if you knew I'm a shy person, a lot of people. I guess my question is, it might be a redundant question. How did you learn, or how does someone learn who they are? Because when you've been labeled so much that you start to believe the label,
right?
How do you get past that? Or did you always know who you were, or did you have to learn how to get past the label?
Okay. Thanks for the question. Beautiful question. Everybody knows on the inside that they are more. I know every one of us know that we are more than we are expressing right now to the world. we know that there is more to us. So the question is, how do I understand what that more is? And I think maybe that's where you wanted to go. How do I understand what that more is? How do I find it? Well, if you are an introverted person, that's easy because you go into the inside. You always run to the inside because the world on the outside is kind of an unsafe place. You're exposed. So you tend to go inside. The best way to do this, in my mind, is through silence, meditation, prayer, whatever can bring you to silence where you do reflection. You know, one of the hardest things, Erik, is to think. We rather just read and accept, listen and accept, rather than think. But what I would encourage people to do is just don't accept. Think. Even the things I'm saying right now, and I'm glad you're asking the question, just don't accept them as truth. Think about it. Go to your own experience and say, what have I experienced? Is this true? What I heard from Delroy, what do I feel on the inside? Because your feeling is a divine guide, and it will never guide you wrong. So if you just learn to start asking questions, somebody say, I'm a teacher. Yeah, I'm a teacher. What makes me a teacher? Who said I'm a teacher? What do I teach? What else am I? Because teaching is just a role I perform. But who is performing that role? We talk about our bodies. Who owns this body? You know, what I discovered, I uncovered the truth that I am a spirit that's living inside of a body. This body is temporary and the spirit is eternal. Then I have to start to understand the spirit. And so reflecting, that's why I love words. Every time I get a word, I go research it. I'm thinking, what does that mean? What does that mean? Everybody wants me to work hard. I'm thinking, what is work? Work is applying force. Why do you want me to live by force? Isn't force necessary when there's friction, when there is difficulty? Are you encouraging me to live in difficulty? So those are the kind of reasoning I go through. I would encourage everybody here, just reflect. You don't have to do a lot of work at it. It's just give yourself space to think about, who am I? Ask yourself the question, and the answers will come. If you seek, you will find. If you knock, the door must open. Now, there is no way it won't happen. So it's not complicated. It's not difficult. Maybe it's too simple why most people don't do it. Just ask the question. Who am I? Am I a body? Do I have a minute to give you an example I used one time to get some people to awake to this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So I was invited to give a talk in a church group. And this church group, I knew what they believed, and I thought, how am I going to get across to them that they're more than a body? So I called up a friend of mine. I said, look, everybody knows, and I knew everybody in the church knew him. I said, hey guys, you all know this gentleman. Yeah, we know. So look, if I took off one of his arms, would you know him? Yes, we would. If I took off both arms, would you know him? Yes. If I took off a leg, would you know him still? Yeah. Well, so okay, so maybe it's not that part. What about if I could disfigure his face and you hear his voice, would you know it's him? Yeah. So I said, look, are you telling me if I dismantle his whole body and just by his voice you could tell it's him? If I change his appearance fully, so then is he his body or is he something different? And everybody kind of looked at me a little weird, but they all agree that, well, there must be something else. You see, your essence, your spirit is who you truly are. Not the things on the external. The things that's the external is the identity that people use to assign you a separateness. But at the level of spirit, there is only unity. And what happened is, if you notice how people control us, they divide us through our differences that's visible. And once you get rid of that, they take out, how did they bring my people into this part of the world and totally obliterate us on our history. What they did, they changed our name. They made sure we didn't speak the same language, so they didn't put people who spoke the same language together. And then they give you a new name, and then they took away your language. So what happened is I know they had to change your identity to change you. And all I'm saying is, you are not your body. You are that essence, which is pure spirit on the inside. This is where you got to turn your attention to. And if we just learn how to behave from that. I remember my son was acting up one time, and I said to him, you know, son, you are a Peart. You need to behave like a Peart. All I had to say to him, if you know who you are and let your actions come from that space. If I know I'm spirit, I'm perfect, I have abundance in me, even though my external situation say I'm living in lack, if I can just remember that everything I need for life is in abundance. I have an abundance of everything I need for life. But somehow this one aspect, which we have been misled, that kept us in poverty, that one aspect is where we put our attention. Do you know that what you focus on expands? That's why Job says, the thing I feared most has come upon me. It is what you give your emotion to that will come out. If we believe we're limited and you give emotion to it, if you have fears and you're living from fears, you will be experiencing fear for the rest of your life. We have to get on the inside and remember who we are, children of the divine. We are abundant. We're fully functional. We're perfect. Somebody said that we're not perfect. I said, maybe you're not, but I am. I am. God created me as I am.
Wow.
And he created me perfect. Now, I may not be expressing my life perfectly, but all I need to do is learn how to express it perfectly. You know, none of us need be in poverty if we just learn how to express abundance from our spirit. There's no limitation in who we are. We're limited by the thoughts of others who have made us feel limited. And we got to get rid of that. Go on the inside. There's no limitation there. Maybe it sounds like I'm preaching. I should get back to business. Business talk.
No, my brother, this is business talk. This is real life talk.
Hey, I'm glad you said that, my friend Dave. I'm glad you said that.
Man, oh man.
Woo, woo. Woo. By the way, you just mentioned business. Could I just say to you and your audience that business and life is the same for me? My business will succeed because it's coming from inside of me. I said to my group once, I said, look, I don't need any one person to succeed. So do not hold yourself back because there's one person who you're expecting something from that's not delivering. You don't need any one person. You have everything on the inside that you need to succeed. Now, the divine in you will orchestrate to bring resources to you that may include people that you don't even know today. And so, my business, just the way I approach life, my business is the same way. I don't stress about it. I don't worry about it. I create the business I desire in my imagination. I create the life I desire in my imagination. And then I leave it to the Spirit to bring me the resources I need. Bring me the right people. Bring me to the right situation. Bring me to the right book, the right methods. Bring me all those things, and I just relax and let it happen. Do you know that when we are in flow, when we relax, things happen easier? Just imagine when you're in resonance with the life that you set up, things happen easier. Life shouldn't be a struggle. We're taught that life needs to be a struggle, but that's our people who want to keep us struggling. That teaches us that. Life shouldn't be a struggle, man. Life should be in flow. Life needs to be expressed from the divine self that you are. And then there won't be a struggle. If we struggle, it's because mentally we have been enslaved and we're kept in. And like Bob Marley says, by the way, Prophet Bob Marley, he says, release yourself from mental slavery. Only you can free your mind. This is it. Nobody else can, and nobody else will. And business is life, and life is business.
Ooh, Mr. Peart. If y'all didn't get something out of today's master class, this was a PhD class. You got a PhD in divinity and business all in one. Now, like you said, life is business, and business is life. You are the CEO of your life. Oh my God.
Yes.
That's what we call the CEO PrepAcademy, preparing entrepreneurs, employees to become entrepreneurs, transforming lives. That's our goal. This is to transform people's lives, transform their thinking.
Wow.
Mr. Peart, I know we now in the after class. Do you mind if I open the floor and let them ask maybe one or two questions from the students here learning today?
I'd love it.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take one or two questions. We got none other than Executive Director coming from Montreal, Canada, Mr. Delroy Peart. You got him here now, so don't think of your questions later. Let's think of it and ask it now. Who wants to take one of those slots?
Well, I do, but I can't think of the question because it felt like he was talking directly to me. So, Mr. Delroy, I appreciate you, and I thank you so, so much. I would love a recording of this. So thank you.
Happy to be a blessing. Happy to be a blessing.
He was talking to me too, Susan. He was talking to me too. Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Phil Egg. I'll take one of those questions. Hello?
Go ahead, Phil. I heard your voice first, and we'll take the next person second. Go ahead, Phil. You up.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Delroy, it's a pleasure hearing from you, man. The story is amazing. Thank you for everything. My question this morning is, knowing the opportunity that we have here in the United States, with it being a ground floor opportunity, what is the first steps or the major steps that you would take if you was here, sir?
I begin everything with the end in mind. Stephen Covey said that. What does that mean? It means you have to determine what you want out of this. Be very clear. It's a ground floor opportunity. What do you want to be? Do you want to be one of the leaders? Sit with the leaders of the business there and express your thing on paper. What is it that you want to end up at? Where do you want to end up? For example, I'm so excited about the United States. For one, the energy there, you should see tremendous growth there just because of the energy that's there. Because you have such a strong community, you should see a lot of growth. But so determine what's my part. Have an answer for that. Somebody asked me, learn the business, learn what's possible, and then determine where you want to be. For me, for example, I say I want to have a platinum plus business, and so I put my mind to studying what exactly is that. What does it look like? I sat with Myron once, and he expressed to me the goal he had. I'm thinking, whoa, this is massive. And I'm trying to imagine what it looked like. And I had to finally say to Myron, man, you're stretching my vision. But so you have to have a vision for where you want to go. What's the end point for you? Have that in place. Because once that's there, you start to attract all the right things to make it happen. It goes back to that thing again. The divine in you, the source in you will attract all the parts you need to make it happen. But it's your job to get clarity on where you want to go. If you say you want to be an executive director, Make it clear. Do you know what an executive director is? Do you know the roles of an executive director? Study that. Just the fact that you're paying attention to it will make it happen. So my sense is get clear on what role do you want to play in this. You want to be one of the leaders. What is it going to? Then you start thinking about what it's going to take.
Absolutely phenomenal. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Somebody
Erik,
else had
back
a
to you,
question
sir.
they wanted to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else had a question. It was a female voice, wasn't it?
Hey, this is Julie, and I was going to say, if no one else had a question, I wanted to comment on Mr. Delroy's thoughts on thinking, and thank you so much for sharing today. I've learned so much from listening to you today, and but I'm a school teacher. I was a school teacher for 25 years, and I taught chemistry, and I would tell my students that, yes, you're going to learn some chemistry in this class, but I want you to learn, more importantly, how to think. And because it's so important, just as you said, how people would just accept whatever they're given, whatever they're told. And my students would just punch numbers in a calculator and accept the answer. And so I wanted them to learn how to think, and this applies to what I was teaching, but in life in general, I wanted them to think. Does something make sense? Does what someone just told you make sense? Does what you just solved for make sense? If you punched in 2 times 2 and it told you 50 or 40, you know that that's not true. Don't always accept what someone tells you or what something says as the gospel. Does it make sense? Learn to think. Is it logical? And so I appreciate what you were saying about learning to think. And that was one of the things I told my students. If I don't teach you anything else, I hope that I teach you how to think.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, wonderful. I tell you, you've done such a service to those students, if they paid attention, if they listened, because, you know, thinking is difficult, and most people don't think. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Most people do not think. They think they're thinking, but they're not. They're just replaying information. You know, we build a body by the food we eat. We build a mind by the thought that we bring into our mind. And so the minds that we have is usually not even our own. We build it on other people's thoughts. No wonder our lives are being lived unconsciously. So thinking allows you to take conscious thought. You can now create deliberately. You can change your life deliberately when you think. If you do not think, you are just a program. And we run programs in our lives. And no wonder every year looks the same. Do you know people who are setting goals, and every year all you have to do is change the year? Because it's the same thing. You know why? Because they haven't thought. They are just following a program, and the program will repeat itself, just like your computer. Once the program is set, it repeats. If you do not think, you do not interrupt the program. So thank you for doing that. It will do us all good to start thinking. You guys are fun. This is a great way to start a day, man.
Well, Mr. Peart, I want to thank you so much. This is Erik. Just thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for being a guest. I mean, you dropped so much information, ladies and gentlemen. I will get the recording out to you. You'll find it on the team page. If not, you can call back in at any time at 712-432-1085. Same passcode, 712-432-1085. Same passcode, 991926, and we'll get this recording up and out sometime this weekend so everybody can come and listen to it. We'll edit it and chop out and have it back up for everybody to listen to. Tomorrow, first, before we talk about tomorrow, can we give Mr. Peart a round of applause, please?
Absolutely fantastic, man. Yes.
Thank you all.
Yes, yes.
It was wonderful to be with you and be of service, so thank you.
Thank you. You would never know you was calling in from a whole different country. Tomorrow, we will have another special guest on, Mr. Jacques Dryband. His family owned a Honda BMW franchise for many, many years, pretty much most of his life, and they recently sold that franchise for tens and tens of, not hundreds of millions of dollars. So he will be on talking about running a family business. Tomorrow we're going to talk about a family business. What does it take, the ups and downs, the good, the bad, and the ugly of running a family business? Tune in for tomorrow's show. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to go home, and you don't even have to get out of here, but this class is now dismissed.
Wow.